Good morning, students. Today's lesson will revolve around pop art. First, I'll begin by asking the question, why is pop art popular today? Well, pop art is significant because it opened up art to everyone, not just the wealthy high-class members of society. Since pop art took inspiration from everyday things and moments in culture, people in general appreciated and valued this kind of art. What is pop art? Pop art is an art movement that emerged in the mid-20th century, primarily in the United States and the United Kingdom. It is characterized by its use of popular culture, imagery, and everyday objects as subjects for art. Pop art often incorporates elements of mass media, consumer products, celebrities, and advertising into its artworks. Some key features of pop art include bright, bold colors, sharp lines, and a sense of irony and humor. Before I dive into the pop art movement, I'd like to review the lesson objectives. The first objective states that students will apply available resources and digital technologies to independently enhance and create a piece of artwork inspired by pop art movement. Specifically, the works of Andy Warhol and Roy Lichtenstein, and also Yayoi Kusama, demonstrating digital fluency. The second learning objective states that students will collaboratively set goals for an art project, document the creative process, and reflect on the meaning and purpose of the final artwork. This is my favorite Andy Warhol quote, and it says, "Pop art is a way of liking things." And I think it's the simplest way of defining pop art. Now I'll be introducing the leading figures in the pop art movement. The most famous is called Andy Warhol. He is a visual artist and film director. And then here is Roy Lichtenstein, who's an American pop artist. And lastly is Japanese contemporary artist Yayoi Kusama. By the late 1950s and early 1960s, a cultural revolution was underway, led by the activists, thinkers, and artists who sought to rethink and even overturn what was, in their eyes, a stifling social order ruled by conformity. The Vietnam War incited mass protests, the civil rights movement sought equality for African Americans, and the women's liberation movement gained momentum. It was in this climate of turbulence, experimentation, and consumerism that a new generation of artists emerged in Britain and America in the mid to late 1950s. Pop artists began to look for inspiration in the world around them, representing and at times making art directly from everyday items, consumer goods, and mass media. The 1960s brought a new generation of artists interested in exploring their world as a subject of art. Thus, pop art was born. When Warhol first exhibited Campbell's soup cans in 1962, each of the 32 canvases rested on a shelf mounted on the wall, like groceries in a store. The number of paintings corresponds to the varieties of soup then sold by the Campbell Soup Company. Warhol assigned a different soup variety to each, checking them off on a product list supplied by Campbell's once the portraits were completed. Why do you think Andy Warhol chose Campbell's soup cans as a subject? And also, why do you think he included so many canvases? Let's look at Self-Portrait by Andy Warhol, which was created in 1966. This work was constructed in what would become one of Warhol's signature styles, the repeated silkscreen grid of highly saturated color. An expert colorist, Warhol juxtaposed primary and secondary colors as well as different hues of the same color to evoke mystery and mood. Primary reds, turquoise, blues, and yellow dominate while contrasting with secondary greens, oranges, pink, and burgundy in this work. Let's look at the work of Yayoi Kusama. She was born at Matsumoto in 1929. Kusama approached painting as a therapy tool to give shape to the hallucinations with which she had lived since she was 10 years old. After having studied painting at Nihonga and her successes in America, she decided to go back to Tokyo in the 70s and live voluntarily in a psychiatric hospital for her mental disorders. Every day, however, she went to her studio to create her art. Kusama would often have visions of everything around her covered in patterns. She incorporates many of the art elements of a pattern in her work and has even been referenced to as a polka dot queen. She was even considered to be Andy Warhol's friendly rival in the 60s. Many people believe that Warhol was heavily influenced by Kusama. She worked as a painter, sculptor, and performance artist. And as an artist who got her dues really late in life, Yayoi is now the biggest selling female artist in the world. Kusama's boundary-pushing work has expanded the possibilities of art as an immersive and engaging experience, a concept embraced by artists exploring interactive and installation art today. Roy Lichtenstein was another pop artist who appropriated popular culture as a subject of his art. Comics were Lichtenstein's interest. Lichtenstein found sources for many of his early paintings in comic books. The source for this work is Run for Love, published by DC Comics in 1962. In the original illustration, the drowning girl's boyfriend appears in the background, clinging to a capsized boat. Lichtenstein cropped the image dramatically, showing the girl alone, encircled by a threatening wave. He shortened the caption from "I don't care if I have a cramp" to the ambiguous "I don't care." In addition to appropriating the melodramatic content of comics, Lichtenstein manually simulated the Ben-Day dots used in the mechanical reproduction of images. Lichtenstein's use of comic book style imagery and Ben-Day dots has influenced contemporary artists, including those working in the realm of graphic design and street art. His bold, comic-inspired visuals have had a lasting impact on popular culture and design, evident in the work of artists like Shepard Fairey and the use of comic book aesthetics in contemporary art. In this work, I'd like to ask, how does the painting differ from the original, and how does the meaning change? Pop artists like Andy Warhol and Roy Lichtenstein were very aware of the past. They sought to connect fine art traditions with pop culture elements from television, advertisements, films, and cartoons. At the same time, their work challenged traditional boundaries between media, combining painted gestures with photography and printmaking, handmade and ready-made or mass-produced elements and objects, images, and sometimes text to make new meanings. While looking at these two, do you think this is art or advertisement? What do you think? Andy Warhol's Double Elvis achieves a strobe effect, emulating a film strip on the passage of time. By layering two images of Elvis, one over the other, Warhol creates an illusion of movement. Warhol's shimmery, opaque background achieved with silver spray paint allowed him to easily mask and silkscreen multiple images on top of each other. The artist's interest in film might explain why he created Elvis in double. The singer-actor appears to be moving back and forth, as if in a film strip. Now looking closely at this life-size image of Elvis Presley, what do you notice? What visual effect do you think Warhol was trying to create? Soon after her tragic death in 1962, Warhol made a series of paintings paying tribute to Marilyn Monroe, the film star and sex symbol who had captured America's imagination in films like Gentlemen Prefer Blondes and How to Marry a Millionaire. Warhol based his portrait on a publicity still from the 1953 film Niagara. He painted the background solid gold before silk-screening her face in the center of the canvas, creating a silk commercial look. The gold background and centered figure are reminiscent of Christian icon paintings, perfectly fitting for a tribute to such a prominent cultural icon. Now, as we look at the painting, do you think it is a tribute painting to Marilyn Monroe? Why or why not? Why do you think Warhol chose gold for the background? Warhol's exploration of celebrity culture, consumerism, and mass media has left a profound mark on contemporary art. Artists like Shepard Fairey have drawn inspiration from Warhol's use of iconic imagery and repetition. His use of mass production techniques and the concept of art as a commodity challenged traditional notions of artistry. This legacy continues in street art and contemporary art's willingness to embrace commercial techniques. Think about how Americans have come to admire celebrities now. Do you think celebrities are important to society? Why or why not? And if you were to make a portrait of a person you admire, what visual elements would you contain in it? After learning about the pop art movement and its influence on American culture, think about what you like and how you can express that to create your own pop art inspired piece. The pop art movement, through artists like Warhol, Lichtenstein, and Kusama, challenged the boundaries of art, making it more accessible and relevant to contemporary culture. Their impact can be seen in the broader acceptance of commercial and popular culture imagery and art, as well as the blending of high and low art forms. Today, the legacy of pop art continues to shape how artists engage with and comment on the world around them, impacting not only the art world but also popular culture at large. Now, lastly, I would like to suggest for you to review this key vocabulary as it will be helpful throughout the lesson and just throughout this presentation as well. Thank you.